Bharatanatyam dancer pose and one with the Therukutu. So please take selfies, post them on your social media and tag Sri Aurobindo Society's official Facebook or Insta page. Do a little Googling, find, keep the thing. And yes, there is also a book stall from Auro Publications at the end of the hall in one corner. Please feel free to browse through, and they're also available for sale. Vidya is there to help.
Babu is a banker who has also worked in the IT sector in the past 25 years, managing various businesses. And the main passions of his include travel, food, photography, and heritage. He also runs a YouTube channel which contains over 50 of his presentations on temple, art, architecture, and curated videos on heritage subjects. Welcome, sir.
It's too tall for me. Am I audible? Okay, good. Good afternoon all. So all of you have had a nice tea and juiced up for an interesting session on how to view a temple. It is a provocative title because everybody has seen a temple any number of times and they have been seeing temples for ages. Why I am again asking you to how to view a temple? Okay, there are reasons for it. Before we go into the talk, let me first thank you, the organizers of Sri Aurobindo Society and the Tourism Department of Central Ministry as well as local tourism, who have arranged this wonderful talk seminar on tourism aspects of cultural as well as heritage activities and how it gets transformed into tourism and then projects a great India. When we talk about tourism, the bulk of our heritage, around 50-60% of our heritage lies in our temples. So let us understand temples. And before we start the talk, I offer my pranams to Mother and to the great scholars here and also the senior members who have given the talk. With this, today we start on how to view a temple. Okay. Thank you. Good. So, let us start on why do we go to the temples? Any answers? Why do you go to temples? Most of you go to temples to see God, pray, and ask for favor. That is the main deal. Okay? You do this, I will give you a coconut or puja or milk. It is a trade nowadays. So it has become first a trading center and then you get prasad. And next, your thought is on, I have left the chappal outside. Will it be there or not? That is where the focus is. So, after doing darshan, collecting the Prasad, you are running back to capture your chappal. That is where the focus is. Okay? Some of the people do differently, worship God and then meditate for inner peace. So they don't have inner peace at home. So they come to temple and then relax, be silent for some time. Enjoy the ambience, nice beautiful location. Okay? Youngsters enjoy different kind of ambience and the old people enjoy different ambience. All are there. Cultural events, lot of activities happening, social meetings. So for all the mother-in-laws, this is where the place where we talk about their daughter-in-laws. So this is the cultural events, social meetings happening, economic services, so many deals are getting done, so many businesses. Okay, if you want family prosperity, you burn 7 lamps. If you want to get a lottery, you burn 27 lamps. So a lot of business happening inside temple. Gastronomic expenses. For some other temples in Margali, people who don't get up early in the morning, get up early in the morning. Why? Margali Pongal. Gastronomic experiences. Okay. So, beyond all these things, there are so many things to see in the temple. Okay. So, clean up your eyes, clean up your glasses, and see what else we can see in a temple. Okay. When we talk about temple, you see the vimanas, different shapes, different structures, pyramid and I think whatever shapes you studied in geometry are there. Idols, different poses, some are like this, and then different poses, different structures. All the Rajini and Kamal poses are there in gods. And if you walk about style, hairdo and everything, it is there in the sculptures. You have so many beautiful sculptures there, stories, beautiful, and there are stories, authentic stories. Now, if you want to know what happened earlier, you go to a registry. Now, the registry is part of the temple walls. You got so many inscriptions, which tells you the history and other things. Paintings, beautiful paintings, which depicts how our gods, what is their iconography, and how each god is different in a way in which it conveys the characters. And then finally, the prasadams, different kind of gastronomic enterprise. Each temple is famous for its own prasadams. And then whenever you go to Tirupati, the first thing they ask is, did you have a good darshan? No. Did you bring laddu? Okay. So this is where the heritage of the temple can be represented in multiple areas. Now, if you look at a city like Pondicherry, okay, your school is somewhere there. Okay, last bit. Your hospital is in the middle of the city, so you can go there, but you can't park a car. And your theatre is somewhere else. And your library is in a central place and in Aurobindo Ashram and in several locations. But you need to walk. Your court is now out of city and then it is a faraway place. Festival places. All your festivals happen in different locations, different grounds and other things. So, to visit and take part in all of these, you need to go to different places, banks, all over the place. You need to run around and other things. And then meeting grounds, the standard meeting grounds which are in center of the city are now out of the city, you need to go there. But in olden days, in 10th century, everything was in a single place. Can you guess where it is? It is in the temples. Temples acted as Pardhasalas, Adharasalas, and then Pandaram. They were the entertainment centers. They contained lot of books, and then there is where the local panchayat, the guy with sombu and other thing, he will come and deliver the final verdict for 16 parties. All the meeting ground, everything. Whenever the king comes in a local thing, that is where he will sit down and talk about things. So, think of temple as a social hub. The social hub where you have meeting place. When you talk about temple, people don't know the components. There are multiple buildings, functional buildings. Each has got its own functions. One, you have the Garbhagriha, which is built with a superstructure which is called Vimana. On the other end, you have the Gopura. Many people mix between Vimana, Gopura and temple. Temple contains Vimana, Gopura and several other mandabas. So these are the basic ones. So there are any number of mandabas like Ardha Mandapa, Mukha Mandapa. All these mandabas perform different things. And in our ancient knowledge, all these are visualized as different forms of lingas. Atma Linga, Sthula Linga, and then Mukha Linga, like that. The next representation is, this is also equivalent to the 6 yoga chakras in any human body. So from the Mooladhara up to the Agna Chakra being the sanctum, this is mapped to all the chakras. So the temples are not buildings alone. They are living space of God. Unlike many religions where the location is a place of worship, in Hindu mythology, it is the place where God lives. That is where so many rituals and processes are there to support a living God. From morning breakfast up to the night dinner and up to the sleep and early morning Suprabhata. So if you see this, you can validate it by Tanjavur big temple. You can see that the head and shoulders are almost matching to the yoga chakras. So temples have been there since ages. But why we are not seeing the temples? Because in earlier time, temples were in wood and in clay and in sun, which is perishable materials. So over a period of time, this has got deleted, reconstructed, and only after 10th century where temples started building in granite, these temples we are able to see now after 1200, 1500 years. So what was started in BCE as small temples under the tree and then with a small edifice has grown to a grand temple like Rajaraja Chola built big temple. Okay, so this is how the temples have progressed. If you understand how this temple progression has happened over a period of time, then anytime you go to any temple, you should be able to say that this is a Chola period temple, this is a Pallava period temple, and this mandapa was done by Vijayanagara period. So this is where understanding the dynasty and evolution helps you to understand the history of the temple. Okay, let us briefly see how the dynasties helped in doing. During the early period from 300 BCE to 500, the key people were the Sangam period Kalapura, and mostly the temples were in wood, brick and this one, they have vanished. And then early Pallavas and Pandyas did cave temples and then structural temples, and then monolithical temples. If you go to Mahabalipuram, it is a structural university. You can see everything, full, partial, incomplete, and design, map, everything you can see. So they experimented and they standardized. The next one, Chola period, their period is an engineering period, where they did an American way, everything big, everything strong. Okay, if you see the big temple, Chandigarh temple, that itself is equivalent to many of the major popular temple size. And then after that, Pandyas came in, nothing much to improve on them. So they started expanding on mandabas, gopuras, and other things outside the perimeter. Then the Nayakas, Vijayanagara, before Vijayanagara, there was a regnum where due to Islamic invasion, many of the temples were demolished. So this is where the recovery happened and they reconstructed on this. And Nayakas and Nagaratars, Natakotte Nagaratars continued. If you see many of the beautiful mandabas in front of the temple, they are from Nayaka period, not Pandava or Pallava. We have seen cycle sculptures in some of the temples, and then they say that Chola period cycle is invented. But if you understand, this mandapa is from Natakotte Chettiar period, which is 19th century, cycle was not there. So if you understand the temple architecture and this one, you will be able to solve a lot of mysteries. That is the purpose of these sessions. If you see this, what was a very small Garbhagriha, it expanded into Chola period with Ardha Mandapa and then expanded with additional mandabas. Then slowly the perimeters came in. And by 10th century, the Amman temple, which was not there earlier, started. And then Navagraha started coming up. And then we had the Gopuras and other things. So by 18th century, you have a huge temple city complex like Srirangam with the 7 prakaras, where a town bus runs inside the temple. Okay, that is so big with 7 prakaras. Now, once you see a Vimana, you visualize it like a house or a temple. This is my own house. Okay, so like a house, it has got a Adhisthana. Your leg is like Adhisthana, your base, which you can see it here. And the next one, your body, which is the Bitti. The third one is shoulder, the Prastara, where you can see this roof. And next one is neck, which is slightly inside. And then you can see the neck, and you can see the neck in the temple prakaram also. And after that, your head. Okay? And then there is a Shikara. Shikara is what? The cap I wear or the stupi. Okay? So, any temple, basically, you can visualize into these 6 simple parts where you can visualize on this. Then, when it comes to shapes, there is a logic. When you talk about linga, this is the amalgamation of 3 basic characters and shapes. One, the square, which is attributed to Brahma. Typically, this is there at the bottom. You won't see in many lingas, it will be buried. Then there is a hexagonal part, which is covered by the Avadayar, which also you won't see. Only in a damaged lingam you will see. This is representing Vishnu. And the part you see there on the top is a Rudra part. This is a circular one, which you see visibly. So, the linga is an amalgamation of 3 characters or 3 geometric shapes. This keeps on repeating everywhere in the temple. This is what you should look at. When you look at a pillar, Rudrakanta pillar, you have square, you have a rectangle, you have hexagon, and you have circle. You look at a temple, if you see the corner temples, Initially it starts as a square, it goes into hexagon, and then finally top tier is a circular temple. So everywhere the linga concept and amalgamation of shapes is being consistently doing. If you start looking at temples, you will come across this everywhere. So now, once you understand these concepts, you will be able to find and identify that this temple belongs to 15th century, 12th century. There are ways to do it. One, if you look at the pillar, the way the pillar is shaped, from a flat pillar from Pallava time, it goes to a beautiful banana flower kind of a thing by Vijayanagara period. That is a progression. So if you understand this, you look at a pillar and say that the mandapam is belonging to Vijayanagara period. Very easy. Similarly, the pillars, what was a flat column started developing into so much of an ornate column. That is also a timeline. Similarly, the shapes, the kudus or the arches that are there in the temple, they have also got different period. So by observing all these things, viewing this, you will be getting a fairly good sense of the things. Okay? When you look at shapes, this is the kind of shapes you have. You have the base, square, and your top, this is like your shoe and a hairstyle. When you look at people, people look at your shoe and a hairstyle only, nothing else. So look at the base of the temple and the top shikara of the temple. There are so many variations. And then you have base square plan and then a square top. You have square plan and then circular top. You have apsidal plan, and then you have square with hexagon top. This is the typical Dravida temple. And you have like Gopuram, you have rectangular base, rectangular top. So next, all this is available in Mahabalipuram. So next time when you go to a temple, see the shape, see the base of the Vimana, you will find so many variations happening. Now, after the sculptures, 10 minutes. After the sculptures, we have idols. Where do you see idol? You have the Moola Vigraha, which is in granite, and you have the Touring Vigraha, Urche Vigraha. You have idols on the costumes. You have idols, sculptures, and you have sculptures on Vimana, and you have series of doors, swans, and other things on the basement. And similarly, miniature stories, panels, everything is there. So, there is so much of sculptures available. Will you be able to identify these gods? No. It is like a Navaratri where everything is 5 Shivajis sitting together and then you are not able to identify. So, once you understand the iconography, you will be able to identify them. What is iconography? You define what is the shape, what is the form, the dimension, measurements of a god, and also whether he is standing, sitting. Some gods sit, some gods straight away sleep, and then some gods are always in a slanting position. The hand signals are the hastas they make, and the embellishments, like the kind of headgear they have, you will be able to identify what god it is. Like when you have a Karanta Magada, you have a certain type of gods. And if you have Jada Magada, it is definitely Shiva. Like that. And the sculpture shows so much of stories and so much of insight into life sciences. And similarly, we have paintings. Paintings also have changed over a period, and that reflects the culture at the particular point of time. Now coming to writing method, currently you work on computers, right? But you drop it, the data is gone. Earlier people used to have a paper and pencil. If a donkey comes here, your document is a dinner. Then earlier many of you would have recognized this slate and bulbum. If water falls in, gone. Prior to that we had manuscripts. But all these are perishable. What is not perishable? The writing on the rocks. So if you see this, most of the inscriptions are in rocks. Out of the 100,000 inscriptions, bulk is in Tamil Nadu and bulk is in Tamil. So Tamil Nadu is rich in inscriptions which we need to see. And if you see the longevity of the inscriptions, where everything goes up in 100 years, the rocks, it can stay solid up to 4,000 years plus. So this is the beauty of the story of how Tanjavur temple was structured. So now that we know inscriptions, where you can find them? In the front of the temple, in the walls, in pillars, and in bottom of the basements. Everywhere you can find inscriptions, but once you understand it, you should be able to understand the story of the particular temple. What do we learn about the history of the temple? And local information on what happened, what is the culture, whether there is a war in that particular location, what is a local Purana, and social life. There is a fight between two families, and then the erring family was fined to burn a lamb, this kind of stories. So this is where you will be able to see in a temple. And finally, the food, the offerings, different kind of offerings, and finally the climax is your Tirupati Laddu and Kanjipuram Idli. So you identify some of the places with the food they are giving. Temples have been used as forts also. Even the Brihadeshwara temple, and in fact it was used as a air raid protection area. Now the final slide, art appreciation. Why do we need to learn all these things? We are not going to be sculptors, we are not going to be stapatis. But why we need to learn this? Our learning is to appreciate the art, how difficult it is, and appreciate the stapatis and other things, and then pronounce to them and protect it. We have so much of material available in temples, sculptures, inscriptions, which is mandabas and prakaras, and all these things, it is, once you understand the importance of this, it is our duty to protect and then safeguard these temples. So, having seen this, now what is your agenda? You need to see a fairly good number of temples that are visible. Some of this you might know, you might not have seen. Malakkalvinayagar, you go there, get ubodhi, prasadam and come back. And you go with a bowed head. Have anybody lifted your head and see what is there on the panel? Has anybody seen it? It has got the best collection of Vinayakas all over the world. It is a veritable museum. It has got pictures of all the Ragus, Rasis, everything. Ultimate. Nowhere in Tamil Nadu we have this. Kundanguli Mahadevar temple. One of the best, beautiful, full granite temple available in Madagadi. Complete granite. Best example, Chola temple. Kameshwara temple in Villanur. Even though it is a Hindu temple, they follow a lot of interesting French customs and rituals. Panjanadiswara temple. The temple full of sculptures and so many inscriptions, and it is a must to see. You have the unique Karaneshwara Nadeshwara temple created by Dr. Karan Singh. One of the best Nadaraja temples where if you go inside and when you see the Om Namah Shivaya being chanted and reverberating in the pyramidal thing, there is bliss. Now, the other interesting thing is Tiruponi Varadaraja temple, which is a fantastic school, Veda Padasala, and a very, very structural, beautifully temple with a lot of sculptures. People must see it. Moolanatha Swami, Bahur. Again, Hoysalas who came in and then ruled Trichy and others towards 13th century. It is one of the rare Hoysala temples available in Pondicherry. So like this, and finally Anjaneya, Panjavadi temple. So like this, we have lot of temples to see, which you should start exploring. This is whatever I have shown so far is a very, very brief gist, which we conduct as a structured one-day workshop with 4 lectures, guidebook and other things as part of Tamil Heritage Trust. We would love to organize similar events in Chennai also. So thank you very much for giving me a brief opportunity to explain about how to view temples. If you need any doubts or contacts and other things, the details are available in the screen. You can take a photo and you can connect with me. Thank you all. If you have any questions.
We'll take one question if there is any quick question. Yeah. From the students, yes, or from the professionals. Yes, thank you.
Sir, I think all your temple details are Shaivite temples, right, sir? But there are a lot of 1,000-year-old temples, Vaishnavite temple also. Is there any similarities or differences? I mean, if you can brief on those.
There are separate agamas and structures for Shaivite temples, Vishnu temples, Shakta temples and other things. This is at level 3. Okay, what we are talking about is level 0, and definitely there has been rules from 6th, 7th century on how the temple should be built, how worship should be done. Initially all these rules have been given as word of mouth as Sanskrit slokas, and over a period of time converted into palm leaves. Now they are also available as books.
Hello. There are a lot of story related to Brahma also, but generally we hear that Brahma temple is only in Pushkar. But in here also in many stories, folklores, we see that Brahma was doing tapas here, or in Trichy some temple is there where they say the Brahma will change your fate.
Yes.
Samayapuram temple, I
Correct.
think. So, could you enlighten me? What were the Brahma tradition here in Tamil Nadu? Is there any?
Very limited, very limited. The challenge is, when you look at temples, you need to look at 4 dimensions. One, the authenticated inscriptions. That is a proper one we have. The second one, through architectural evidences where we can find out the timelines. Third, the original Puranas, Brahma Purana or other things, where they will talk about Rameswaram, they will talk about Kashi, big Puranas. And there is always local Puranas, which is a flavor which has been given from ages, one generation to other. This is where we find a lot of this kind of stories, where Brahma visited there, Jadayu fought there, like that, which is spread all over the place. Where it is more of a belief system rather than a clear evidence on this. Okay. Yeah. One moment. I understand this is going slightly out of subject and going little deep, and they are also pressed for time. Because of that, I didn't go to much details in many of the slides. All there are treasure slides. We can take this offline and definitely I'll explain to you. Thank you.
One minute, sir. Thank you.
I am available till evening 5 o'clock. I'll be here.
He's here tomorrow also.
Thank you. One more question, sir. Mother, please. Excuse me, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Babu, for that really informative and, may I add, humorous